Alright, we just talked about addition of real numbers. Now we're going to talk about subtraction of real numbers. So again, we're going to have some rules. What I like to do is change the subtraction sign pen doesn't write as fast as I talk. Change the subtraction sign to addition. And then change the sign of the second number. And then use your addition rules that we just talked about, because essentially we have just turned it into an addition problem. So on 5 minus 3, we're going to do some with the number line. We'll do a few of those. On 5 minus 3, I start with 5. I'm taking away 3, so I'm subtracting 3, so I'm moving down 3 spots. I end up on 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. Now, negative 6 minus a minus 4, I'm going to use the rule for that. I think it's easier. Doing subtraction on the number line I think is a little bit more confusing. So if I'm going to rewrite it 6 minus a minus 4. Using my rule, I'm going to change it to addition, change the sign of the second number. So that means I end up with 6 plus 4, which gives me a positive 10. For the next one, negative 7 minus 2, so that's a negative 7 plus, change the sign of that 2 to a negative. Now I have two negatives. Negative 7 and negative 2 gives me 9, and it stays negative. Now, eventually you're going to get to the point where you don't have to use this rule. You'll see that negative 7 minus 2 is a negative 9. I know sometimes it doesn't think that you yourself don't think you're going to get there, but you will, I promise. I'm going to keep with the rule though for these because we're just starting out. So negative 12 minus a minus 10. So I'm going to rewrite them because sometimes it can get a little bunched up. So negative 12 minus 10, change to addition, change the sign of the second number. That makes me a negative 12 and a positive 10. Subtract 12 minus 10 is 2. The 12 is larger, so I have a negative 2. 8 minus 20, 8 plus a negative 20. You can see they're the opposite signs. 20 minus 8 is 12. The 20 is bigger, so it stays negative. Let's do a fraction. If I've got 6 and 4, so the LCD for 6 and 4 would be 12. So I'm going to change to 12 for each of these. 6 times 2 is 12. 7 times 2 is 14. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. And that one is negative on the inside. So 14 over 12 minus 3 over 12, change to addition, change the sign of the second number. So now it becomes addition for both of them. 14 plus 3 will give me 17 over 12. For the decimal, same thing. I think you're probably going to end up using a calculator for decimals for the most part. Most of you will. So you're going to have negative 3.783. I'm following my rule. So that's negative 3.783. plus a negative 4.92, so that means they have the same sign. So they are going to be added together and keep the sign. So if I add those together and keep the sign, I get negative 8.703. Alright, so here's their rules. If A and B are real numbers, then A minus B is A plus negative B. Alright, so let's practice some more of these. Subtract each of the following. Negative 5 minus 7, so that's negative 5 plus a negative 7. They're both negative, so add them and keep the negative and get a negative 12. Negative 12 minus a minus 3 means I'm going to have plus plus. So negative 12 plus 3, 12 minus 3 is 9. The 12 is bigger, it stays a negative 9. You'll also learn that double negatives, minus minus, changes to positive all the time. Alright, so let's do some phrases. Difference means to subtract, and again, we're doing a whole section on subtraction, so you're going to see that a lot. So the difference between negative 18 and 14, I'm sorry, negative 18 minus 14, so that's negative 18 plus a negative 14. They're both negative, so that's going to be 32, and it's going to stay negative because they're both negative. Negative 40, subtracted from 10. Since it's subtracted from, I need to change the order because it's subtracted from means to change the order. So 10 minus 40, and it's going to be minus a negative 40. Let me rewrite that. 10 minus a negative 40. So that ends up being 10 plus a positive 40, which gives me 50. Alright, decreased by, I don't have to worry about changing the order, so it's 5 decreased by the sum of these two numbers. So I've got to take negative 2 plus negative 6. Again, if you have two operations without a number separating them, you're going to need to use parentheses or brackets. So I need to do parentheses first, remember, or always go back to order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So 5 minus negative 2 plus a negative 6 gives me negative 8. Now I've got 5 minus a minus 8. So that means change it to addition, addition, that gives me 13. 1/2 less than 1/3. Less than, change the order. So 1/3 minus 1/2. The common denominator is going to be a 6. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. So that's 2 6 plus a negative 3 over 6. They're opposite signs, so subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. The 3 is larger, so I end up with negative 1/6. 3 more than negative 9. Again, I'm going to leave the one on the left for you to work out yourself. 3 more than negative 9 is 3 plus negative 9. So on this one, opposite signs. 9 minus 3 is 6. The 9 is larger, so you have a negative. Alright, so here's a few word problems. We'll do some of these. A submarine dives from a depth of negative 105, so I'm going to write that down, below sea level, to a depth of negative 420. Find the difference between the starting depth and the depth. So negative 105 minus a minus 420. We're trying to find the difference between these two numbers. So minus a minus, we're going to add. So negative 105. You end up adding 420. The difference between these two is 315 meters. Which kind of sounds counterintuitive, but think about it like this. We're at negative 105. We're going down to negative 420. I'm just trying to find the distance here between the two. And the distance is always positive, so it's 315. Alright, let's talk money. Jackie's checking account has a negative balance. Bless her heart. She's got negative $52.40. But she's adding a $75 check. Now, I'm thinking she's going to come out of the hole because 75 is more than 52. So if we take our negative 52, bless her heart that she's got in here, negative 52.40, and we add the $75 deposit, then she's going to come out of the hole. And she's going to have $22.60 left in her checking account. Alright, order of operations, let's do a couple of these. Let's just do the one on the left. We have brackets, parentheses, and braces. Remember, we work from the inside out, so I'm going to start here. So I'm going to rewrite 8 minus negative 6 plus 7, bracket 2 minus 4 minus 5, subtract and keep the sign of the larger, so 4 minus 5 is going to be 1, and it's going to be negative. Erase that little mark. Like it never existed. Okay, so that's going to be negative 1. Alright, now I'm going to do inside that bracket. I've got 2 minus a minus 1. so that's going to be plus 1. So I'm going to have 8 minus brace, negative 6 plus 7. 2 plus 1 is going to give me 3. So now I can keep going, and I'm going to work in the brace. 8 minus, I've got a multiplication, 7 times 3. Need to do that first. So negative 6 plus 21. Now I've got inside the brace, I need to do negative 6 plus 21. Opposite signs, keep the sign of the larger. 21 minus 6 is 15. 21 is bigger, so I keep it. Now I have 8 minus 15, so that's 8 plus a negative 15 when I use the rule. 15 minus 8 is 7. The 15 is bigger, so it's negative. One of the most common mistakes, and I want to address this instead of going over this B1, I want to talk about this for a second. One of the most common mistakes in doing order of operations is going to occur right here. And I don't know if any of you have done it or not, but the most common mistake people will make is they'll do the negative 6 plus 7 before they multiply times 3. Common mistake. So if you are working these out on homework and you are getting these incorrect when you're doing these order of operations, look to see if you are making that common mistake. You need to do multiplication before addition or subtraction. It could have an addition sign there as well, and it would be the same kind of mistake. So just really, really watch that. Common mistake. I see it all the time. Alright, let's do a fraction one because I know y'all love them so much. We've got 2/3 minus 7 over 6. The LCD is going to be a 6 on that one. So 7 over 6 is not going to change. So 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. We'll work that out in a second. Let's do the second parentheses. Here I've got 3 over 1, so the common denominator there is going to be 2. So the 1/2 stays. And then 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6 over 2. Alright, so let's do each parentheses. I've got 4 over 6 minus 7 over 6, so that's plus a negative. They're opposite signs, so subtract them and get 3 over 6. And the 7 is larger, so it's negative. Minus, here I just have addition. 1/2 plus 6 over half, so that gives me 7 over 2. Now, I could go ahead and get a common denominator, but I recognize that 3 over 6 reduces. It reduces by 3's to a negative 1/2. So that helps me because I don't have to find another common denominator. So I've got negative 1 over half, negative 1 over 2 minus 7 over 2. So that's plus a negative. Those are two negatives. Add them together, get negative 8 over 2. Reduce that. 2 goes into 8 4 times and it stays negative. So negative 4. Alright, let's try one. Let's practice a square root and an absolute value. So let's do this one. Square root of 25, remember 5 times 5 is 25, so the square root of 25 is 5, minus, let's do inside the absolute value, negative 9 plus 5, subtract and keep the sign of the larger, so that would be a negative 4 minus 3. Now let's take care of this absolute value of negative 4. Well, that's going to be positive 4. So I've got 5 minus 4. This minus comes from in front of that absolute value, minus 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 minus 3 would be 1 plus a negative 3. Subtract, keep the sign on the larger, which gives me negative 2. And there's how you do subtraction of real numbers.